Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Welcome to the Art of Living show. I'm your host, ZAFAR MAJID. And today's show is about degrees and university education. Are degrees worth the paper they are written on? You have a lot of people going to university now, getting degrees and getting jobs afterwards, which may not necessarily be related to their degree. But they will say it's about the development. When you go to university, you're learning lots of other skills rather than just getting that degree. But in the studio with me today is a very special guest, Kam Sahota from South Birmingham College, who is an employment engagement manager, and his job is to place candidates either into higher education or into employment through the apprenticeship scheme. So we'll be discussing with him today whether the degrees are worth the paper they're written on. Welcome, Kam Sahota.
Thanks very much for having me today. Thank you.
How are you? You okay?
I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
And you've already got the a bit of the theme that we are going to be talking about today.
Yeah.
And what I want to do is, obviously, we had a conversation before we went live about our own personal experiences.
Yeah.
Because we're both similar ages. And rather than what I think, which obviously come through when we chat, is my question to you is, are degrees a waste of time now?
That's a very good question. It's a very broad question, and it's got many answers. Are they relevant? Are they not? I can't give an exact answer to that because it's really dependent on the individual, what they want to achieve and what they want to do. But certain job roles still require
a degree.
Degree qualifications. Certain job roles, require practical experience. But now, education has evolved. It's moving on.
You know, when we were growing up, we were told, I don't know if you had that.
Asian parents.
Grow up,
get a job, get a degree,
get married, and you'll be successful. Live happily ever after. And it was mostly go become a doctor, lawyer, accountant, engineer. It was mostly these 5 or 6 main occupations. And a lot of, I did the LLB honours in law, and I was intending at one stage to go into the legal profession, but I didn't. I ended up taking the self-employment route, and now I run telecommunications and property development business. And I look back and I'm so grateful to God that I did not go into the legal profession, because I look back and I see a lot of people, in those professions, and I say they're just glorified pen cushions. No disrespect to my friends who are in the legal profession, but a lot of these professions are not what they're made out to be.
Yes, you could say that. I, like yourself, with similar age, my parents said I'd go to college, get a university degree. They didn't want me working in the family business. I worked in the family business, that was retail, etc. But they didn't want me.
You had a family business?
It was
not a corner shop.
Oh, it was. Corner shop, off license. There's a couple of them. My dad was a publican, and then he went into corner shop. But I think he had the foresight, because when he worked in the publican, his job was a troubleshooter. So he'd go from pubs that were not turning profit, turn them around, then move on to the next one. So in my younger life, moved a lot. But he realised the hours and the graft you'd put in, and then when he had friends that worked in professional environments, he was like, they'd be earning the same money but for less hours.
You see, that was a generation which was telling their kids to go to university, get a degree, get a good job, don't be struggling in a business. Now, ours is a generation where I'm telling my kids
is get a business.
Don't get a degree, don't go to university, go get a business, because this is the day and age of the entrepreneur.
Absolutely, I agree. But I think with a lot of the people that I meet in my day-to-day role, they've had businesses or they work in a business, and now some of them want to formalise their qualification, like yourself. You've got a vast experience of property development, telecommunications. You've built that knowledge, but now people are looking to build that knowledge, that practical knowledge, and put some kind of qualification on there.
Why would they want to do that if they're already successful? I speak, many friends who I know who are successful in business. Once they've made them, the idea is, once you get your degree, you get a job, you make so much money, you want to retire.
You want to retire? I think it comes back to my earlier point, because with education evolving, if you look at all the local universities now, a lot of them offer degree-based apprenticeships. My nephew, for instance, he's just completed a degree-based apprenticeship. So
Try to explain that. What do you mean by degree-based apprenticeship?
his apprenticeship was a degree.
Okay.
So he worked for, I won't know the name, he worked for a large food logistical company. And then he did it as an apprenticeship. They employed him, they paid him an apprenticeship salary, but it was a degree-based apprentice, so he studied his degree at the same time. With that in mind, and I'll probably reference this a lot, because education is evolved. Now you've got to look at a degree's worth of paper they've written on. What is education? Because everyone wants a result or an outcome. So, that's what they're looking for. But I think, are they worth the paper they've written on? I think both can coexist.
Perhaps, we're talking a lot about the universities outside of the main profession.
Yeah.
No disrespect to people who study psychology, sociology, or any humanities-based or arts degrees. But you've got to weigh that now on the other side in terms of the cost of acquiring that degree.
Yes. Yeah.
Is it worth it? I mean, I tell you from my experience, when we were at university a long time ago, we were, not only was it free, we were actually given a grant.
Yes,
I remember buying my first car with that grant. It was a Ford Escort 1.1.
Yeah.
And I remember the joy of driving to university.
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, like when we were talking off air, I studied a year in Manchester, and I came back and studied here. What is it called? Birmingham Central Birmingham then.
University of Central England.
Yeah, and they've rebranded now as UCB. But I mean, like yourself, I received a grant. Later on in my degree, they were offering the loans, which I did what every good person would do: take the loan, put it in the bank, get the interest, then pay off the loan.
Paid it off?
Yeah, because it was none of this ridiculous interest rates as they are now. But coming back to your earlier point, there's so many things to factor in now. If you're going to do a degree or do an apprenticeship, you got to look at it as an individual. What the cost is to them, what development they're going to get, what they're looking to achieve, what kind of job role do they want to go in. Are they going to go into your traditional, say, doctor's roles where you need that formal education? Or are they looking to gain some practical experience, be an entrepreneur, be in business or something, but then later on gain a formalised qualification? Like myself, bringing it back to my own experience, I studied surveying. I did my degree in surveying. I went and worked for a bank for a short period of time, which was it great? Was it fun? You learnt a lot. And then I've worked in kind of recruitment and sales kinds of roles, but I didn't actually work in the area that I studied. I still know a bit about it. I do a bit of it, but not to the level
So
that
what
I should
was from your part, what was the best thing about going to university?
I think the best part of going to university was actually some of the skills I learned, like the research, which I use now in my day-to-day role, is about disciplining myself to do certain things, learning the research skills. Those are two things I took away from it personally for myself. But you're going to pick up other skills, some other holistical skills like personal development and how you do certain things. And
you're going to pick that up in a job anyway.
You
along
can.
the way with your peers and your mentors.
You can, but I think with what we've noticed over the pandemic and after the pandemic, some of those skill sets have gone. And then some of the things that we're doing with training wise and development is bringing that skill set back. Because, for the pandemic, the world was on pause for 2 years. But some of the skills have gone. Some of them, not gone's the wrong word. Probably they need more work on. But in certain aspects, education's evolved, like with the online teaching we do as well. So there's good and bad. What I'm probably really trying to say, it's dependent on that individual, what they want to achieve and what they...
I think every individual has to do like an introspection of what they want to achieve in life. Because what I'm finding, especially, look, we were children of economic migrants.
Yes.
We were told to go work hard, go to university, get a degree and get a job purely for financial gain.
Yes.
So I advise people now that never go into a career. That's what I say to my kids. Do not choose a career or business for the sake of earning money. Otherwise, you're going to have a very miserable life. And I know the kids growing up in our generation, a lot of them went to occupations based on that this is going to give them status or
Yes,
give them money.
yeah.
I mean, I met a friend of mine who, after college, since I knew him, I met him many years later, and he actually qualified as a pharmacist.
Oh God!
So I asked him, "How you doing? How's it going?" And he looked depressed, and he said, "I absolutely hate my job."
Yeah.
I said, "Why is that?" He goes, "It's just so boring, unbelievably boring." And I think we're probably right, because every time I see a pharmacist stuck in a little room behind the till of a chemist, it looks quite boring. And I can't imagine why anybody would want to train as an accountant either as well. That seems quite a boring job, but I'm sure there's people who love it and work in the profession with a passion.
Accountancy's changed a lot since when we were doing it. I mean, it was purely based on just a degree, but accountancy is one of our very popular apprenticeships.
Yeah.
Because if you do the apprenticeship route, you're still going to get the same qualification, but you get practical experience. So it's a bit of both. But then again, we get a lot of accountants that have done the practical AAT route, but they're still taking formal qualifications after, because it's changed. They need to keep abreast of what's going on.
You can now even become a solicitor through the apprenticeship.
I'm not sure about that. They do offer paralegal apprenticeships, and that's a good foot in. It gives you that practical knowledge, but you still have to go through the formal qualification. But if you go back to accountancy and legal profession, they are still qualifications where you still have to gain qualifications during your career, because you have to keep abreast.
What is the most popular course, or youngsters leaving school now, what is it that they're trying to get into for apprenticeships?
That's a very good question.
Because from my perception, when you hear about apprenticeships, you think more technical-based jobs and careers.
Oh yes,
like
engineering, you do,
or electrical apprentice or something like that.
No, that's right. But people still think about the technical runs. But apprenticeships evolved so much now. There's so many non-traditional apprenticeship companies. Like you do get solicitors taking apprentices. You do get property management companies taking apprentices. Even IT and digital. If there is a popular apprentice, we have a number. Accountancy is always very popular. A lot of the IT roles are very popular, particularly marketing. I mean, going back to your experience with your friend, I had that recent experience with my son a couple of years ago. He was going to university, and he was contemplating, do I go with IT or whatever? But it was like the advice I give to all the students I work with and companies. You've already alluded to, you've got to do something that benefits you and you enjoy. There's no point learning a subject if you're going to be miserable soon, because
I know many people, trust me, Kam, who have gone into careers, and they've gone, either the parents have told them, I know of doctors who have changed profession, or they are again very, very miserable in their jobs because they were forced to become doctors because of their parents.
With different age we lived back then,
Number two, people have gone into a job because of the money and the status. But I know now from my own life's experiences that if you make money your objective, it's not going to.
It's not a great objective. It's a very extrinsic factor. I mean, you've already touched upon it. It's going to be the point I was going to raise. I changed career. I mean, when I started working in the college all those years ago, I would have never thought of going back into education. I'd left university. I'd been working in private industry, and it's like I would never wanted to go and work in education. But I don't know what happened. I was working in recruitment. I can't remember the exact day. And a friend of mine mentioned
how was life in the recruitment industry
back then? It was very, very cutthroat. It's cutthroat. Can I say that? It was very.
Is it still cutthroat, or has it evolved or changed now?
There's a lot more recruitment agencies now. There's a lot more people out there, and it was very much focused about getting that sale, getting that placement. But I've noticed over the last few years, there's a lot more agencies in education, and you could say education to a certain extent is recession-proof because it goes on all the time, and if there is a recession, it's not affected.
You know what you just mentioned there, cutthroat. It's all about getting the sale.
Yeah.
I remember when I left university, I got a job as an savings investment, or call it a financial advisor.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
A few fancy titles. And at the outset, this is a job where you are speaking to clients,
Yes.
and you're tailor making a financial package to suit their
Yes.
needs.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, it's all about sales.
Yes. Yeah.
You would have meetings with your sales manager, and they'd have a whiteboard, and they'd put the targets on there.
Yeah.
Then they put the sales achieved against each person.
Yes.
You're not a financial advisor, you're a salesman.
Of course.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's no different to the solicitor today who has to bill by the hour.
Oh yes.
If that solicitor is not billing his clients by the hour and generating that revenue for the firm, their job is no longer viable. Okay.
Yeah.
So majority of this, even as a solicitor, when we were growing up, we thought a solicitor is there to dispense.
Yes. Yeah. Advice.
justice
Yeah.
and advice to help the, shall I say, the unfortunate people of society.
Yes. Yeah.
But as you mature in life, and you see a lot of it is down to money. So everything is gripped by the bottom line, which is money.
I agree.
And this is why this capitalist system that we have created has huge fundamental flaws in it, and it's creating an unfair society. It's creating a miserable society. Even the main protagonists who are participating in this are miserable and getting full of depression because it's not what it's made out to be.
I mean,
This is a vast topic.
Yeah,
It's
it
not
is,
the
yeah.
remit of this discussion today. Maybe we discuss this on another time.
Yeah.
But what we're trying to bring it back to is that people should do something which they actually enjoy.
Absolutely. I mean, even if, look, one thing I would say, even if they do an apprenticeship, they do a degree. I mean, at the college we offer apprenticeships, we offer T levels, which is evolution of, a theoretical subject and work experience at the same time. Education's evolved. Regardless if they choose a degree or an apprenticeship, it's got to benefit them. It's got to benefit the individual. And more importantly, they've got to enjoy it. And what I mean by benefit, not just for their own personal gain, can they actually give back, like we've already touched upon? Can they give back and help in society? Can they make a difference?
Do you get many people asking you about what choices to make based on money, as to what's going to earn them the most money?
You do. You do get younger apprentices ask you that, but I think some of that is down to age and they're not sure, because at the moment you get it from apprentices and students. At the moment, the society we live in, there's a lot of information.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean all the information you get is correct, or is it right, or is it valid.
So do you find that they're suffering from information overload, that they've got too much to choose from?
I think with some people, yes, there's too much to choose from. Like when we were younger, you'd have to go to the library, you'd have to do your research, you'd have to look at it. If you wasn't sure about your research, you'd ask someone in that field.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I had to sign on for 3 months when I left university.
Oh wow, yeah.
And you'd go to the job centre, the local job centre, and they had these postcards on the wall.
Yes, so the jobs,
vacancies,
yeah.
all categorised, manufacturing,
Yeah.
service or hospitality.
Yeah.
So it was a lot easier in that respect to for job hunting.
Yeah.
But now obviously you've got such a huge choice, and even the application processes have changed for the
Yeah, I mean a lot of application processes are now done online. I mean, we get candidates fill out applications online as well, just because there's so many people applying for certain things. Unfortunately, as much as we'd like to get back to everyone, we try to speak to everyone. Sometimes it's not possible because of the sheer number of applications, but you try to give as much feedback.
So you're saying there's a lot more competition now for the positions available?
Yes, there's a lot more competition.
But as an employer, when I talk to people, one of the main sort of feedback that I get is they're actually struggling to recruit the right kind of people.
I think there's a lot more competition for places. Some of that this is like my own personal opinion working in the industry. Some of the information people get and the jobs they're applying for, relating it back to my own experience, is it the right information? And like we've touched upon, because there's so much information now. Like if you walk through the bull ring now, if I can mention that, how much information do you get fired just walking through there? How many billboards are there? If your phone's on Bluetooth, how many things do you get fired at your Bluetooth if you've used it or you've used their Wi-Fi? You get loads of adverts popping up, information constantly sent to you.
Yeah, I always say this is a day and age of information overload.
Yeah.
How on earth are people able to concentrate?
Yeah.
You know, with all these social media platforms, and it seems quite a big distraction in every sense of the way.
It can be a distraction. It also can be a viable tool to get information out there. But I think relating it back to, you know, students and learners, sometimes they've got so much information, it's very hard for them to make a decision.
One other thing I'm finding is that people have gone to university,
Yeah.
they've got a degree, but they come back to look at for apprenticeship schemes.
Yeah, that happens.
I mean, what was the point of going down the route of the university then, if you're going to go back down to doing an apprenticeship, which you could have done when you left college or school?
That's a very good question. I mean, the way they changed and evolved it, they opened it up. A few years ago, it was only open to 16 to 24.
Right.
And then they've opened it up that anyone can now do an apprenticeship or any kind of training.
Isn't that a huge injustice to graduates? That after graduating, they're having to go back to do something which was designed for 16, 18-year-olds.
To give you an exact answer about that, I really couldn't, because some of the graduates are more than happy to come back and do those roles.
Okay.
I mean, relating it to my own personal experience, when I left university, I went and worked for a bank. I won't mention the bank. I was working in their probate department, and as you can imagine, you have a lot of sensitive information. You have to be very careful with your sensitive information because it's a very sensitive topic. We had to photocopy. If you had to copy anything, you had to put a code into the photocopier. I remember going there and I had to copy this information for a case that I was working on. I had no clue how to use the photocopier. I'll never forget it because
This is after you graduated.
after I'd graduated, because
I
I'd
would
never
have asked my money back to university.
Indeed. Well, no, I knew how to use the photocopier, but I wasn't aware how to put in the code.
Okay.
And then the lady that showed me, she was really lovely. She showed me, and then she asked me what I did.
What university did you go
Yeah,
to?
exactly. And I explained what I did and whatever. And she goes, "Look, no one really gets it the first time because you're dealing with very sensitive information. You have to give a valid reason why you're copying this information, where you're sending it for. Hence, why then you just put in the code, which is understandable. But relating to my experience there, I didn't do the practical experience there. And part of me I wish I did, but the degree I did only had a certain bit of work experience. But the way the education system's evolved now, they're realising things like that, and they're putting more work experience and emphasis in there. So it's like a 50-50. It ultimately comes down to the individual and what they want to do and how they see where they see their career and what career path they'd want to choose, because both have equal opportunity and both can coexist and work well. But relating it back to like my experience and our experience of like, you've got to go for the university route, you've got to do this is what it entails.
I think one of the biggest change in the dynamics of that is the expense, because with student loans, I mean, that decision, which may have been quite straightforward 20 years ago, is a lot more difficult now, because you have to take into account the cost of living crisis that we're in at the moment, the huge expense of having a student loan when you graduate, because people are now leaving university with a student loan bigger than the value of houses when we were younger.
Yeah, of course.
So, when I graduated, you could get a nice terraced house for £30,000.
Yeah.
Now people are leaving university with debts in excess of £50,000. So already they're at a disadvantage in life, unless, of course, they're going into a high-flying career which will allow them to generate so much money and pay off these debts. But again, that doesn't mean that they should pursue that career purely because of the money. because as I mentioned before, that will make
It's
for
got to be a
miserable existence.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
sorry, I don't mean to have to. It's similar to apprentices because like a lot of the apprentices we talk to, and when we discuss the jobs with them and everything and what they're going for, they factor in the cost of travel, etc. You know, how far is it from them? Are they going to be able to get there? Because going back to the cost of living crisis, we know if you're an apprentice and you've got to catch 2 buses for work, for example, the cost of travel now, it's astronomical. You know, even public transport, which is a separate topic I won't go on because I have my own issues with public transport and what they charge.
What is the typical day saver cost these days?
It's over £4.
Wow.
It's over £4, and if you're an apprentice and your salary's that, some apprentices could probably spend nearly 3/3 of their salary on travel.
Yeah, then if you're out, obviously working all day, you got to go and grab some lunch as well.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
You know, there's going to be some other miscellaneous expenses, probably a bit
Absolutely.
a coffee on the way in, or coffee on the way home, and
it gets them to eat. I mean, you never know. Some of them might bring lunch, or they fancy something different. You know, there's a lot of factors to take into account. I mean, even one of the biggest factors for apprentices is absolutely, without a shadow of doubt, is the travelling cost.
well,
You know, that's even if they drive. I mean, we both drive. You go fill up at the forecourt nowadays, and you close your eyes and you think, you know, I just fill it up. I'll stop when I hear the click. But yeah, so it's a lot of factors, even for degrees and apprenticeships. You've got to think.
yeah, but with the apprenticeship scheme is that at least you're not incurring debt.
No.
Because even as a student, if you're not working, you still have to eat.
Yeah.
You still have to travel perhaps
Yeah.
to university, so you're still incurring those expenses.
Yeah.
But here, as an apprentice, you are gaining experience, you're getting paid at the same time, and as I mentioned, you're not incurring debt. But have we answered our questions that we started off at the beginning? Is the degree worth the paper it's written on? And what is our final sort of concluding remarks from yourself? I'll give you my thoughts as well.
Okay. Me personally, I'd say both can coexist. Both do coexist. Education has evolved, and it really, what I would say to any individual before they're considering both, think of everything what they want to go through. Like we touched upon the cost, the travel, how's it going to benefit them? You know, where's their development? What is their objective for doing this qualification? What do they want to do? Like we've touched upon, if it's purely for money, for status, then those.
What about the students who used to leave home, go to university just for have a jolly time?
I like some of the guys I studied with. Then
A bit of an expensive jolly time.
it is a bit of an expensive jolly time, but what's the objective of that? Okay, I appreciate everyone's going to let off steam and enjoy themselves. Yeah, I'm fully on board with that. But there's got to be an objective. You know, if you're studying, if you're dedicating your time to do this, even on an apprentice or a degree, you've chosen that path.
Yeah.
You've chosen that life.
Yeah.
So you're going to be working in that job, apprenticeship, degree for a number of hours, for a number of years. So what is your objective? What do you want to achieve from that? That's what it comes down to. Yeah, I could say it's this, that, or the other, but it comes down to the individual. What is their objective? What do they want to achieve? So, is there a definitive answer? I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if I've answered it purely or eloquently as I probably could. I'm not sure about that.
So the question is degree or apprenticeship. So
you've got to weigh it up as an individual. What do you want to achieve and what is your objective? But like we've already touched upon, the external factors, you shouldn't really consider those. I mean, when we were young, it was a different time. Did our parents know any better? Did they see what they perceived as a path to an easier life? Okay, our parents probably worked hard manual jobs and did other things. My dad originally worked in, so did my mum, originally worked in a factory before they become business owners. So they'd come from that line, and their next line would be education is the right thing. But yeah, that's a different time. We've evolved because we've come through the education system. We saw it from a different perspective, and we're thinking, well, my parents did a business or they worked and they've made a success of it. We could do something in a different value or a different thing. It's still the same ethos, still the same idea, have we evolved our thinking that way?
That is the most important thing that you mentioned.
Mm.
Society has evolved,
Mm.
and the old considerations, the old rules no longer apply.
Mm.
So, Cam, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me so much.
In conclusion, I would say myself personally
Yeah.
that we live in a different world now.
Yeah.
And I would say to my own children
Yeah.
that don't be so, excuse me,
No.
don't be so focused and narrow-minded, just thinking about a university degree. This is the day and age of the entrepreneur. Yes, by all means, you can get a job first, save up, but ultimately you need to be looking at some sort of a self-employment, some sort of a business, some sort of a model which will allow you to invest in yourself and invest in your future. Because a job, traditional definition of a job, just over broke. You'll be earning just enough to go back the following week to earn more and spend and then go back again. It becomes a vicious cycle. And many people end up doing jobs which they no longer enjoy. But that doesn't mean that the business owners are living a life of bliss. There's no one size that fits all.
No.
And therefore, you really need to weigh up your own individual circumstances to make the right decision. And main thing is that the old traditional models that used to apply before no longer exist and no longer are relevant. So you really need to think outside the box.
I think you've hit a really good point there. Like, you shouldn't close your mind off to anything.
Yes.
Look at everything.
I mean, I personally never used to entertain apprenticeships. I wouldn't have entertained them for my own children a few years ago.
Yeah.
But I think they've come a long way now.
They
They have some serious credibility.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I say to the companies I work with, like yourself, and with apprentices. You've got to think with an open mind. If you automatically think this is it, you're closing your mind off to a load of other things and opportunities. You know, like me, I retrained. Never thought I would, but I did.
That's what I mean. The world has changed.
Yeah.
Thank you once again.
No, thank you so much for having me.
It's been great to have you, and some great words of wisdom that you've shared with us. And thank you for watching. Subscribe to our channel for future notifications of programs like this. The theme of our programs is to constantly teach people about personal development, to teach them how to have the right objective going forward. So you are not constantly just thinking about money to further your life. It's about the person, the character, and how to become a valuable contributing member of society, as taught to us by many sages and saints of our times and in the past. So thank you so much. May Allah bless you, and we look forward to seeing and speaking to you again. Allah Hafiz.